How are you?
I'm doing not too bad. Can't complain.
Not too bad. I guess that's pretty good. I'm doing all right, despite the fact that leaving you today after we had lunch, the Jeep gave me some trouble on the road, but
Uh,
that's all
that's a
right.
shame. Take it back to the dealership. Tell you, crumple it up. Tell me you want a new one.
Right. I wish it were that easy. But we'll see how that goes. But otherwise, we're not talking broken cars. We're two guys talking toys.
Yes, we are.
Unless you have a broken car toy, which I'll probably find it in the parking lot.
Oh, that could be a bunch of different Transformers.
Right. Right.
Anyone that I've customized over the years.
Uh, so what's new?
Not a whole lot. I actually did manage to find a Target in its attempt to appease me for our ongoing saga. I guess an update in that whole thing. So when you and I had lunch last week, we actually did go to that Target that is near you, and he was there. He was there,
Oh,
and I got him.
nice.
I have never been so angry to pick up a toy that I've wanted this badly.
Yes.
So on the one hand, hooray, I got Sunman. On the downside, give me my Sunman's Target. Process my
Right.
pre-orders. There are
You need
two
you
for
need an
$13.99 that I
array
need.
of sunmen,
Yes,
like
absolutely.
a sun chorus line.
And this guy is so he's I mean, we talked about it earlier when you got yours. He's so cool looking. I do want multiples of these because this is going to get me back into customizing He-Man figures. This is a character that like the update for Masterverse is really cool, but
Right.
I
Right.
want to see him with different kinds of armor. Like He-Man's got like he's got the battle armor, he's got the thunder punch and whatever. I would really like to see that for Sunman. Give him some like solar flare armor, solar eclipse additional armor, something like that, because he's cool enough to deserve that kind of treatment. So in addition to that, there are figures that I've tried to kind of keep off my radar.
Right.
Marvel Legends has been just cranking out and cranking out and cranking out the pre-orders for different things, and these had popped up a few months ago, but I hadn't actually didn't pre-order these. Some of the X-Men retro stuff. So I managed to find
Nice.
an
Oh, that's cool.
Avalanche. Managed to find Spiral, who I'm actually really excited about.
How I want the avalanche to be bigger. How big is he?
He's not very big. Yeah, it's kind of bittersweet because even though he's a nice figure, like look at the hopefully it shows up. Look at the head sculpt on him versus the artwork on the package. If we could have gotten like he's got like the weird pouty lips. He's got the like it. I don't understand why they
He's a
didn't
pouty
sculpt
guy.
him. I mean, which would be fine if there was an additional head. Like if that was the alternate head, where you're like, well, this is when they're having the meeting of the Brotherhood of Mutants, and he's leaning in the back because he just wants to go and break stuff. But he should have a snarling head like the artwork depicts, and I'm not quite sure why they didn't go in that direction because he's an angry guy. He's a
He is.
I'm not sure I get it. I do think it's kind of funny that that this came out after the figure for Quake because I guess that's his daughter. I'm
Right.
pretty sure they haven't retroactively changed that. I'm pretty sure Quake is his daughter. Had a figure before her dad. Sorry,
Mm,
Avalanche. But this
great
gets us
goes.
one step closer to a fully complete Brotherhood of Evil Mutants.
Right. Right.
Spiral, I'm super excited for because I did you pick up the Mojo
Uh,
the Mojo World pack?
no.
He looks amazing. The box for that is also amazing, but it'll be kind of cool to have both Mojo and Spiral running around finally.
Right.
So,
I actually think I have that ordered on Pulse, maybe.
mhm.
Yeah, but I haven't seen it yet.
So what have you found, if anything?
I got my giant man thing.
Oh, that is fantastic looking.
Yeah, the
He's
snake on
huge.
the leg. Yeah, it's bigger than my head.
He's like I remember asking you for uh pictures of him when you got him. He's
Yeah,
Do you have Swamp Thing nearby for comparison to the McFarlane Swamp Thing?
I do.
Put
Oy.
yeah,
Although,
put them.
okay, after almost ripping my head off.
Worth it. because the McFarlane Swamp Thing is massive,
Yeah,
and Man Thing completely dwarfs him. He looks gigantic. He looks like he ate two Swamp Things.
right.
That
I'm
is
on
amazing.
a one Swamp Thing a day diet, but Man Thing. And then I visited this weekend, as you know, I was every so often we'll do a trip to Pennsylvania to the flea markets and
Mhm.
things and try and find something cool. And I stumbled upon ZoloCon
Okay.
in Warminster, Pennsylvania. Oops. Uh
What's that?
it was interesting. I can't say honestly that I had a good time. The facility
Uh,
was yeah, I hate to get on here and badmouth, but like the facility was cool. It was like an old
mhm,
NASA training facility and it had a
mhm.
centrifuge and
Yeah.
still there, but man, so crowded, so crowded. And you couldn't
Oh.
see, you know, it's just so you know that I'm a you know a dunce you know like a bin badger.
Mhm.
Like I like digging through there, but they were under the tables and it was so crowded you couldn't even bend over to look at them. And when you did, the lighting was so bad, like
That's
horribly bad.
unfortunate.
I get one time I had to look at a bin and I had to turn on the flashlight in my cell phone
So
to
was
go
it
through it.
sitting like underneath the table? You
Yeah,
were like
yeah.
you weren't able to pull it out and
I
take
mean,
a look while
you
you're in the aisle.
could
Hmm.
theoretically, but it was so crowded that if you know knelt down, you would get kicked in the head, and it just didn't work. Like they need to
Oh my
move it to
god.
another facility. It's like it looked like there were good things there, and
Hmm.
I found a treasure, like a lifelong hunt treasure, which I'm about to show you. But uh, yeah, it wasn't a fun experience, and we got there
That's
early. Like
yeah.
we were in early, and it was not cool.
That's too bad. It almost sounds like they were holding this inside of like a job lot because
Uh,
those cramped aisles and like not being able
smaller
to.
than a job lot. It
Wow.
was
Not.
like smaller than I would say a roller skating rink.
Mhm.
Like, and then it had an upstairs, very slender stairwell, people going up and down. It uh it was
I'm
difficult.
I'm not familiar with the organization that runs it. I wonder if this was I wonder if this was maybe
I
like
want
the
to
first
say
time they've been to
they're
that
like
venue,
an
perhaps.
independent. No, I feel like it's been there before because there was a guy online behind me talking about how he was really a comic book guy
Hmm.
and he was there looking and had been there before because he was familiar with the facility and the centrifuge and all that.
Oh, that's too bad. Like once you've been at like a specific venue and you kind of know the ups and downs, it's kind of a shame that they haven't kind of modified it to or modified the way that they lay out their stuff to accommodate what was probably what like a few hundred people that showed up.
No, it was a lot. Like the
Uh huh.
fire when I was exiting, which
Hmm.
was very early before lunch.
Hmm.
Um, the people were there talking about the numbers and that they had like the concerns about the fire marshal and so on and so forth.
Yikes! Might be time to for Zolicon to move to someplace a little larger.
Yeah,
So on the
and the
upside, it sounds
vendors,
like they're
the
successful
vendor,
enough to warrant that.
right? The vendors had what I assume were good things. Like
Hmm.
you know, it's not their fault that it was a bust, but I really didn't enjoy it. Like it was,
Yeah.
I was if I had a dime for every time somebody whirled around and whacked me with a backpack,
Ah.
I'd be a rich man right now. Um, but treasures that I found
Mhm.
for the last 30 years or so, been trying to get
Oh, you found him.
Blue
I
Falcon.
this really is a grail of yours
It
that
is.
you've been looking for
And
since.
Dynamite. I
That
got
is
them both.
fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
And I got them at a good price. Like I've seen them for going for a lot.
yeah,
And the guy was uh you know glad to put them in the hands of someone who wanted them and it was like $80
that's
for
a
the
really
two.
for both of them, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a really good find because so many times they're not together, like any like the two packs or
Right.
when you
Yeah.
like the Thundar and the Herculoids, like you could usually find like one of out of whatever multi pack, and it'll come from people also looking for them, but I only need one because mine's missing its head, so I just want that one, and they get
Yeah.
separated. But then whoever has it thinks they're sitting on platinum, so I'm glad you were able to get those for a combined $80 as opposed to the seller wanting $80 each.
Right, right. So you know, me being you know, a box badger and wanting to dig around for things and find them, it's you know, uh I like to find those buried treasures, you know?
Mhm.
And so that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about tonight, because once again, my friend, we have come to something that I'm going to bring up, that you and I are opposite sides of the collecting coin.
Mhm.
I like to go rummaging and searching for things in stores, and you do not. You
not,
I've heard
not
you say,
particularly.
like, when they release
Not
a Chase variant, and you're like, oh, because Todd
why.
McFarlane thinks that we want to go searching for toys. Like, I do like
this
searching for toys. You
this
don't.
no, this has been the bane of my existence since the mid '90s. When once people started to kind of catch on, they're like, oh, people really want that hard to find thing.
Yeah.
Also, yeah, give me a pre-order. Give me a pre-order any day, any day of the
Right.
week.
Yeah, so tell me why. Why do you dislike the search? Like, these are treasures. We treasure them.
we I feel like I don't want this to be a competition. I don't want, and honestly, I kind of hate short packed versions of anything.
Right, right. Yeah, remember,
It,
like, always the female. The female
yeah,
figure was short pack, 16, the 3 and 3/4, there'd be 16 figures in a case,
yeah,
one female.
because I feel like originally that math was based on just sales, just hard numbers. Okay, we've sold X
Yeah.
number of this female character, and we noticed that every time we pack in, one or two female characters, sales for them are not as strong as we would like, and the male characters sell more, so we're just not going to include as many. And then you had this growing cluster of people who really wanted that particular character, and it became noticed by resellers, and then eventually by actual toy manufacturers and companies who may not have purposely short packed a specific character, but then you had, like you said, Mike McFarlane saying, well, don't you want Violator in gold? No, Todd, I don't want him in gold. Or if they were making someone that I really did want, if it was like clear, because then they made, oh, who was it? It was the ectoplasm Spawn.
Right.
Yeah, I want ectoplasm Spawn. Don't just randomly send him out.
I'll take
Let me find
ectoplasm,
him.
anyone, right?
Or you have a guaranteed set. I think this might be my biggest thing as far as like pre-order versus going to a store and fighting for and hunting and hoping that you just happen to get there, that whatever person that is in fact a scalper hasn't shown up and bought it beforehand. You would have a guaranteed sale from me if you offered me something that was weird or strange or wacky or off the beaten path. Just let me buy it. Don't tell me go out there and press your luck and find and see if you can find it. You might not be
That's
able
your
to buy
luck.
it.
Wasn't that a
Yeah,
game show? Was that the Don't
it was
Forget
one
Your
of
Whammies?
it was one of the
Like,
best game shows, and
was that what the one with the whammy?
for the longest time I just called it the whammy because
I
that was
wish
the only
I,
reason you watched.
I wish we had the capability right now to have "Don't forget your whammy," like your money coming across the board.
And then they eventually went on to make a show that was just called The Whammy, and I believe that it flopped horribly.
Right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, like I
I want to
don't.
see the horror movie where the whammy comes into your house. If you do something wrong, the whammy, like, comes across your living room and whacks you in the head with a hammer or something.
It would have to be one of those like Roger Rabbit style movies where it's a
Right,
cartoon,
right.
but he's
Brilliant,
beating
brilliant.
up a live action person. And that is who I wanted to send to the people who were in charge of Matty Collector for a while when that was in full swing, because there was a, in the spirit of quote unquote, no pun intended, the spirit of the hunt, they had put out a it was called The Spirit of Hordak. It was a clear
Yeah.
reddish character, or a clear reddish version of the classics version of Hordak. And of course I wanted it. And their thing was, oh, but we're only going to list it sometimes. You got to keep watching the site. And I was
Tom,
unhappy.
your Zoom is glitching out on us.
Oh,
Yep, there it
no.
is. Yeah.
Oh, no.
It's better now. It's better now, but you look like you just had a seizure just a minute ago.
talking about Spirit of Hordak
Right.
makes me
You
so
look like
angry.
you were a little possessed. So
I mean, hopefully I don't have to edit around that. But yeah, so Matty Collector put out a spirit of Hordak, and you could only you could only get it by pretty much just hawking the site. And they would
Oh,
randomly go up, and you would hear about it from someone else. And by the time you heard about it from someone else, you'd go there and it was either sold out or it was gone. And it was just rage inducing. I have lots of other things that I need to do with my time. I spend a lot of my time doing stuff that people probably consider to be a waste of it. I do a lot of drawing, a lot of writing, a lot of photoshopping, and whatever.
right.
But those are things that I would prefer to do than going to Target and looking and not finding. I would much rather be told that it's available. You can put in an order for it, and when we get it, you'll get it.
Right. So like you like your pizza delivered. You don't want to go pick it up.
Yeah, yeah. For me, going into a Target and looking around at the toy aisle, that's just like that should just be extra to me. Like
Yeah.
I want to know that I have the security of actually getting what it is that I ordered. And when I go into a store, if I happen to see something that's there, then that's great. And if I happen to see it before my pre-order has been fulfilled, then even better. But I don't want that to be the only way, because we don't live in a time anymore where with the death of toy stores, with the death of Playworld, with the death of Toys R Us, KV,
Right.
all those
Right.
things, we no longer have that option of I always go back to when the first commercial I saw for Slash from the Ninja Turtles. I was
Right.
seeing a commercial for it,
Are
and
you gonna
he
do
looked awesome.
the commercial voice? The
Slash, the evil Ninja Turtle from Dimension X. He
There we
hates
go.
pizza, and I thought it was so cool that he hated pizza. Um,
Right.
but I remember seeing that commercial, going to Play World, and when you walked in to the right hand side, because those were new, like everything was pretty well synchronized. You just had a wall of Ninja Turtle stuff, and I went and my dad took me there, and I found Slash, and it was great. I don't expect to be able to just walk into a store the next day after seeing stuff. That's not how the world works anymore. But
Mm.
it would be nice if it was not like the Hunger Games when you wanted to find a toy. You should be
Right.
able to go like
If it were
advertise
like
it.
the Hunger Games, though, I think that'd be a little cooler. Like if they put the pile of toys in the middle of a field and then just put the bell rang and you just ran out there and see who got the best one. I would end up with like some stupid Roblox figure, but whatever.
So I'm curious about the flip side of this. Why do you why do you like Hunger Gamesing it? Why do you want the odds to be in your favor?
Well, this goes pre-pandemic, of course, when stores actually had stuff. But I think the love of it was, like you just said, like when it was Toys R Us and it was Playworld and it was a mall, and like when I lived in North Carolina, uh, and I was younger, my younger brother and I, who's also a toy enthusiast, he and I would get paid on the same day. So Wednesday night was, new toy night. So that was the night where we'd go out. We'd go into town and we'd hit Walmart, Target, Toys R Us, the mall, and we'd get some discussing fast food or maybe see a movie, and then we'd go have dessert afterwards. But it was like the night out. We'd go to the bookstore because we both wanted to go read, see the new comics that are out. But like the event of doing it, and especially like finding new things, because then you do like, so now we're all on the internet, we know what's coming out, like we already have it
Yeah.
pre-ordered all the way to the summer of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
But like we used to get Toy Fair magazine, right?
Yes.
And you'd like look through it, you're like, oh, this is coming, but you never knew like when. You had like a month or a season. So like I loved one, the experience of going and looking for toys, and then but there were always things that you didn't know were coming out and you would find them. And again, we had more sites, like we had more resources, but that romance of finding the thing, you know what I mean? I think there are guys that have that same feeling when they go out to the bar on Friday night, like it's tonight.
Who am I gonna meet tonight?
Who's it gonna be? But like it was but it was for toys. But it was like every time you walked in, like you never knew. Like in the back of your head, it's like dun, 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 like what is it going to be? And like I'm going on this search for some sort of archaeological dig. And I've also been that person that like you walk in and you're like, there's nothing new, but this Zorro, Mask of Zorro figure's been here for 5 weeks and he's on clearance for $4. yeah, I'll buy Mask of Zorro. And then, you know me, I'm like, well, now I got to have all of the Mask of Zorro figures. So, uh, that's kind of like, I just like that feeling of going, like, I mean, you know me, like, I love the experience of going to the movie theater. Like, I would
Yeah.
rather go see any movie as opposed to like sit on my couch and watch it. I just love that experience. And, you know,
See,
the
I'm
tangible
also.
experience and that excitement of look what they finally got, and especially when it was the age of like the Toy Biz X-Men and Spider-Man lines when they were
Mhm,
just cranking them out, and you never knew who was
mhm,
coming out. You never knew. Like even Toy Fair didn't, Toy Fair came in, and that was towards the end of the Toy Biz line, and
mhm.
they started. It was more based on the we had this discussion about the mid '90s and how it turned into collect your toys, right?
Yeah.
But like when they were still toys, it was fun. Like you never knew what was going to come out or who was going to come out, and you show up and there's a new GI Joe line. You thought GI Joe was dead, and then wow, there's this, and then
Yeah.
now this, and I mean they were all horrible, but they they were still something new, and
See,
I like that feeling.
the rush that you get. I totally get what you're talking about, because I for a while I was right there. Like when Toy Biz still had the Marvel Legends line, and they
Yeah,
were doing the build of figures, and it was um I remember this particularly with the Apocalypse build a figure wave, when
yeah,
there was you could get the regular version that was coming out in like Toys R Us and in normal toy outlets. But then there was also the I guess the original Build-A-Figure was mostly blue, different shades of blue. And then
right,
there was a variant of the Build-A-Figure, which I loved. I thought that was
right. That was a
awesome.
really cool concept.
That had the black, but the black one was coming out in, where did I find them? Rite Aid. I think I started finding them in, because they weren't in
Yeah, you
like
find cool things. Like
I
there are Walgreens exclusives, but Rite
yeah,
Aid
like
and
I didn't
like
remember finding them in a normal store. And all the black repaints of Apocalypse were in like these weird like drugstores almost. I didn't fully
Mhm.
understand why, and I didn't really care, but I was finding them,
Tom, you
and that
you
was
get
great.
really excited about buying toys and drugs at the same time.
Listen, one of the first places that I got one of my favorite figures, Ripper Snapper, Generation One Transformer Terracon,
Yeah, yeah,
was
yeah.
purchased at a place called Shirley Drug.
Oh, Shirley Drug.
And this was out in
Yes.
Shirley, New York, Long Island. I was young. I my dad went there to probably buy cigarettes, and I happened to be with him. He probably had a few extra bucks, and this harkens back to what I've talked about before, where you would, if you went with mom or dad somewhere and there happened to be toys nearby, the best it got was looking. That
Right.
was like, it was cool to see it there. And for whatever reason, he was like, "You want one of those?" And I was like, because near
Right.
the
Well, what kind of
counter,
question is that? Of
yeah,
course I want one of
near the
those.
counter, they had a couple of, and this was when Transformers was unfortunately kind of dying out. So
Yeah.
you started seeing them in weird places, like that old store Genevieve's. Remember, you
Genovese.
started seeing,
Yes. Genovese. That was the I don't want to take you all the way to Play World, so we'll go to
yeah,
McCrory's and Genovese.
yeah. We'll see if there's some leftover toys that they swept up out of the bins in the back.
Maybe Woolworth if you were going to, because back then the only McDonald's was over in Santa Mauritius. So
Yeah, so these started appearing in those kinds of places, and
yeah,
they'd be like near the counter, so you get one to shut your kid up, or if you're, in my case, my dad had a couple extra bucks, and he saw me looking, and he was like, you want to get those?" And I was like, "Oh!" And they had Ripper Snapper and they had Sinner Twin, and I was like, which one do I get? I don't know if this is ever gonna happen again. And I went with
yeah,
Ripper Snapper because he looked like a walking dog, and I didn't know what he was. He was such a weird creature, and I
yeah.
loved him. Um, but like that was it, I don't know, being able to go in and find stuff like that. That was nice. That was great, and that was a sign of the time.
Yeah.
And we no longer. I feel like we no longer really have that. I
No,
don't.
we don't, and I miss it. I
And it's
hated the pandemic for obviously lots of reasons, but I don't know anybody who said, I love the pandemic." But uh like it killed everything. Like it
well,
changed. a lot
It
of culture,
started,
but it changed the toy culture so much.
but I think even before that, even before that happened, that certainly contributed to it. But I think
Mhm.
even before then, toy manufacturers started to realize people really like looking for that, or people like the short packed stuff. They like. I think some of them really do believe that there are, and there's some truth to it. There are a lot of people that enjoy going out and search and hunting for stuff and doing the search and looking at a box and seeing the dust on the ground and being like, 3 hours ago there was a box here. These are fresh tracks.
they're
Let's
doing
keep going.
they're doing the Yukon Cornelius like
Yeah, nothing. And that was it. But the more that happened, the more I hate it. The more I can't stand it. Like
right.
if there's something that I really want, if there's something that I really want to get my hands on, and I'm at the mercy of all these factors that don't involve me. I don't know who's in my area. I don't know who's going to whatever store. I don't know. I have no clue. There's all these unknowns. With a pre-order, done. It goes up at this time. You could there's no limit, and I think that's the other thing we kind of need to work on with companies, getting a better idea. And it's always an ever evolving process, but having a
Mhm.
better idea of how many units you need to be selling to people, because pre-orders do sell out.
Right.
It happens. I applaud Maddie Creations when this happened with
Nameless plug. Nice.
yeah, when that happened with Wondar.
Oh,
they
Wandar again.
they they course corrected when it sold out, and there were all kinds of issues, but then they were like, just open pre-order, just order however many you want, and we will make those. And then you had your window and you can get whatever. And I feel like that reduces there's a certain level of anxiety, whether or not people think that it's warranted or not. There's a certain level of anxiety that comes with toy collecting. We all want that thing. We're all chasing that thing. Whenever it's introduced, you want it. You want to get it. And
Mhm.
you see it.
But you don't
And
want to
then
work
there's
for it.
it's not even a matter of working for it. It's a matter of, am I actually going to be able to get it?
Right. Well, you
Because
sometimes have that with the pre-orders, with the bots and everything else. It's
yeah, you definitely run into that, and that's
uh-huh.
why I really wish that there was more of a push for open pre-orders. Like, just figure out what your operation is going to be doing. Open it up. Know that this is the number of units you need to make. This is what the Four Horsemen do
Mhm.
with their stuff. There's the day of orders, and that's always a bloodbath. Or there's a day of, like, day of sale when they have actual product, and that's after the pre-orders have been taken, and that's always, nobody's ever happy because
Right.
everyone too many people wait till after the pre-order is done. But initially, and they'll do this a year and a half out, they will say, this is our new line, these are the open pre-orders, you have like a month. And I think that's wonderful. Give me a month to order whatever. Like, I know that this is coming. I know some people are kind of impatient when it comes to waiting on. There's all kinds of
Mm.
delays.
Right. Yep.
Everyone wants everything now. It's not feasible. It's not how it works. It's not going to happen. But give me the security of knowing that I am going to get this thing, um, instead of, you might get it, you might not. I had to wait 12 years to get Spirit of Hordak because I could never catch him online. He would
Right.
show up, he'd be gone. He'd show up, he'd be gone. And if you really wanted him, you'd wind up paying some ridiculous aftermarket price, which I still wound up paying anyway. If
I
they
think
had just opened
I
the pre-order, I wouldn't have had to have done that.
I love like finding Blue Falcon and Dynamo this weekend brought back all of those old feelings because
Mm-hmm.
I did see them once
Mm-hmm.
in a store and I didn't buy them because I was a jerk. And it's because I was going to go see a movie and I didn't want to run out to the car. And I thought, nobody else wants Blue Falcon and Dynamite, but
Mm-hmm.
they weren't, widely distributed. So I never saw them retail again.
Mm-hmm.
And, trying to find them, and they were always expensive, or you couldn't find the duo, and so on and so forth. But like, I remember back in the day, like I said, I started doing like flea market hunts, and of course, comic book stores.
Mm-hmm.
The little ones would have, aftermarket sales, I guess you could call them,
Mm-hmm.
and you couldn't find something in the store. You never found it. But then you'd go to like Renninger's flea market in,
Yeah.
in Pennsylvania or Florida or wherever I was, and then you find it. and it was amazing. I was recalling the other day to someone about not having the Castle of Fangs
Mhm.
when I was young, and then
Oh, what a great playset.
it's amazing. And then seeing it after, like a few years later,
Mhm.
at Renninger's Flea Market in Pennsylvania, this is when I was in high school,
Yeah.
and I just went back there this weekend. Like that's the kind of thing I miss. Like, okay, I missed it, but
Mhm.
then when you find it again, like you
Mhm.
find it and it's years later,
Yeah.
but you're still on the
See,
hunt, and
see,
that's what,
that's
like, that's how I felt finding Blue Falcon and Dynamite this weekend. Like
mhm.
I'm still on the hunt 30
Yeah.
years later, and I saw them, and it almost like I've been grinning like a schoolgirl since I got them, and it's been over 24 hours.
Yeah.
I just love it,
See,
and that's the kind of feeling I miss. And I
mhm.
go online, like you and I talk all the time. We have lunch
Mhm.
together, and we talk about, oh, what's new, what's coming out, or you get the email about new pre-orders, and you get on, you're like, oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
Click, click. All right, well, I guess I guess
Oh,
I have that.
see that gives me the dopamine rush that you're looking for.
Does it
That
really?
is,
Because
oh yeah, because
I'm
I've
just like,
locked
that's
it
so
in.
anticlimactic, and then I
Oh yeah,
watch it, and then it comes into my pile of loot or
I
whatever, and
I
it's like,
love I love getting that notification. I love knowing that I don't have to deal with this anymore. I don't like it's mine. I got it.
it's
It's
off the list. I don't have
yeah,
to worry.
it's a thing that I'm going to get. It's going to arrive. There's not going to be any issues, assuming it's not Target. It's going to arrive
Right. Well,
properly.
you might
It's
as well
it's
still consider yourself in the hunt if you've ordered it
it's
on Target. And
yeah. And,
plus, but God
so,
bless Big Daddy Target. And let's not.
but I do agree with the hunting that you do during flea markets, when you go to garage sales, when because you're right, when you are looking through that bin and you happen to find something that maybe you overlooked or you weren't able to get a hold of years ago. That I agree with, because I do enjoy kind of sifting around and maybe stumbling across something that even if it didn't have my interest when I was younger, but I remember thinking that it was kind of cool, or it was
Yeah.
something that I hadn't seen
Right.
before,
Right.
and you
Right. Right.
find it and you're like, wait, there was I'll give McFarlane some kudos here. Years ago, I remember going to just a random flea market and looking at a bunch of someone had a bunch of figures on a blanket, and there was this
They should be on
weird
blankets.
yeah, there was a weird looking like green alien techno guy. And I remember picking it up. He was like $1, and I got him, and I was like, what a weird little dude. And he didn't have like the best articulation. He had more than 5 points. And I had him for years, and I would just put him in random displays, and I had no clue what he was until I happened to see some like throwback to old McFarlane toy lines. He was part of this thing
Old
called
McFarlane.
yeah, it was like something Riders. The gimmick was that it was some
Oh,
character.
those motorcycle dudes.
Yeah, it was some character, and they all came with some sort of weird techno, overly
Right. It
agreeable
looked like
motorcycle.
biotech, weird. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
this alien guy was from that line, but it was something I had never had any interest in, because by that point you you rolled the dice when you were buying a McFarlane thing. That was around the time that he was getting into like exploder plastic, and you didn't know what you were going to wind up with.
Yeah.
But
Exploder plastique.
yeah, he would make his fingers out of plastic, so when you pulled them out, the joints would literally explode. You had no shot. Remember when stores just stopped accepting? They stopped accepting
Yeah.
returns on
Yeah.
McFarlane stuff, because they're like, you knew what you were buying, you knew what you're getting
Right.
into,
I feel
and this
like
happened.
the new Dungeons and Dragons figures
Oh,
are like
that's
that.
such a shame. That's such a shame, because
It's
that's
like
reverting back
it's
to the old when NECA was first kind of cranking stuff out, and their stuff was equally terrible and would
right.
just break right out of the package.
Right. Yeah. It was like trying to it was like peanut brittle.
Yeah, but like that was a nice experience, being able to find something that I just normally wouldn't have been looking for,
Right.
and
Right.
figuring out later, oh, it's this thing. But I do agree, like looking through like the bins, going to flea markets, like that kind of stuff, like that's kind of neat. I just don't want to apply that to stuff that I'm trying to get now,
Right.
because it's just I
I
don't want
I
to deal
even
with that
look at my,
frustration.
pre-orders on things, and I'm like, And I think I might be able to find that in the store.
Mhm.
So maybe
It
I'm gonna
is
roll the dice on this.
for me. For me, it then makes the hunt a lot more relaxing. Like I'm not. Granted, nobody should be having a meltdown over toys. Although I won't lie, it's kind of fun to watch it happening online. Uh, but no one should be having a meltdown over
That's
toys. No
another
one should be.
episode. Let's
Yeah,
let's
you
offer
shouldn't.
comfort.
Yeah, it
Let's
shouldn't.
let's do some wellness,
It
breathing
shouldn't.
exercises.
It shouldn't stress you out. It shouldn't you like it because in the back of your head, if there's no pre-orders and you're left to the mercy of stores deciding to whether or not they want to actually order this thing versus how many people may be in your area trying to track it down. Having that pre-order is almost like a security blanket. So I
Right.
do still go and look. Like we you and I go and randomly look all the time. And it's nice to know if I go and I don't see it, so what?
Right.
If it when it comes, it comes, and if it doesn't, my pre-order is going to get filled at some point anyway.
Right.
Um,
Right.
but if I do happen to see it, it's neat. So like, yeah, oh cool, it's there, and I'll grab it and buy it, and then I can go and cancel my pre-order, and that's a fun time for me. But I don't get the rush that you do. I'm glad
Oh,
that you get it.
I do,
It's
I
not
do,
there
and
for
it's
me.
and and I do a lot like and the loyal listeners don't know it that I'm really into like wildlife and things like that. So I used to spend a great deal of time in the woods looking
Mhm,
for anything alive, reptiles and snakes and that excitement when you're like, oh my God, there's a snake, or
mhm,
if it's a scarlet king snake or in Florida, like coral snake, something you don't see all the time. Like
mhm.
it's that same rush, it's that same, a sense of adventure, even though it may have happened in the Toys R Us, aisle, but it was
Yeah,
still a sense of adventure. So
it's
let me
very
rabbit.
similar sometimes.
Yeah, I'm gonna squirrel for a minute. Is your Metlar being attacked by the
Oh,
centaurs back there?
yeah, so this harkens back to the conversation that we were having when we were talking about toy lines that we would like and the 6-inch versus 4-inch debate. So,
Did
so
we have that debate? We haven't had that
uh,
episode yet.
well, it wasn't a full on debate, but when we were talking about
Right?
the
Yeah,
reboots,
yeah,
yeah, what
yeah.
would be the ideal scale? So yeah, so I pulled out about all my sectors because that is a collection I've completed. It's
Yes.
just the
Bravo,
manufacturers who haven't
bravo.
completed. But
Those guys.
those jerks. But yeah, I was like, I'm a huge. This is another episode we need to do. I am a crossover enthusiast of the highest degree, so
Yes,
everyone can
yes,
meet
you are.
everyone
I
and
like that about you. I
fight it
can't.
out.
I've tried. I'm way too rigid. I'm too rigid, Tom.
It's once you make that jump, you never go back. It's the best. So I was like, what if Metlar stepped on it? What if Metlar stepped on a sector? What if he showed up in the world with Symbion? What if
It
he,
would be
this
stuck in
seems
his
like,
foot.
yeah, this seems like it'd be his doing. And I came up with this stupid random just quickie. Okay, so Deacon Pose was sent ahead to scout and he encountered Toxic and Skeeto and he killed Toxic and that's the weird bone version of Toxic that's
I see
behind
it
him.
there. Yeah, that's cool.
And Skeeto went back and told General Spytrax, who would have tried to broker some sort of deal with Metlar, who would of course have turned on him, and then became a threat that was big enough so that all the sectoids had to deal with him, and that's
Yeah.
that's that scene there.
That's nice. Tom, we're down
It's,
to about 40 seconds.
oh
40
my
seconds.
goodness. All right, so I have enjoyed this conversation. This has been great. Listeners, if you would like to join in on the conversation as well, you can get a hold of us at Two Guys Talking Toys on Twitter. That is the number 2, no G after the talking. If you would like to email us, we have a Gmail that is the same name, Two Guys Talking Toys. The number 2, no G after the talking. So let's get talking.